Hi everyone, welcome to this department program briefing for Business Artificial Intelligence Systems and Business Analytics courses. We'll wait for about 5 minutes before we start the briefing proper. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. So welcome to the SOT Academic Day freshman briefing for Business Artificial Intelligence Systems and Business Analytics students. Right. So this briefing will be specific for the program. Okay. So I understand you had this faculty briefing this morning. Right? So this will be more specific to your degree program. So first, let me just introduce myself. I am Olivin. I'm the deputy head for degree programs and teaching for the Department of Information Systems and Analytics. Right, so I think first let me just introduce you to the department. So first thing you must know is that all of you are visa student, right? VISA. So the short form for the department is visa, VISA. Right. So in the future when we refer you as visa student, right? So you know that we are referring to you, huh? Right. So that's the department name. So let me just introduce you to some key personnel of the department. So first we have Professor Go Yong, right? So he will speak to you shortly. So he's the head of department, right? And we have Professor Tan Chuan Fu. So he's the deputy looking after research and administration. And we have Associate Professor Anand Maharajan, right? So he will speak to you later as well. And then we have our department curriculum committee chair, Associate Professor Tan K. Okay, and then we have also Dr. Chui Wei, right? She will be your academic advisor for your cohort. Okay, so let me just maybe tell you what is the function of the department in the university. So basically, the department will take care of your academic affairs, right? Most importantly for you is your curriculum, right? So the department handle all your curriculum, so on. But of course, there will be some things that will be handled at the undergraduate studies office. Okay, but there are a lot of things that will be handled by the department, particularly your curriculum. Right. So if you have any feedback or anything about your curriculum, anything, I think feel free to write to any of us. Yeah. All right. So this will be the agenda we have prepared for you today. Right. Okay. Let's take a quick look. So yeah, so I'll start with some overview of your degree program and then go down into the specifics of the 2 degrees. Right. And then we talk about the requirements for your industrial experience, some opportunity for you to do research, entrepreneurship, work and service opportunity. And then towards the end, we have 3 seniors who will share with you their experience. Okay. So we have actually opened up the Q&A platform for you, right? So you can actually start posing any question you have about the degree programs. But of course, you can also hold back for a while, right? Because some of the questions will be covered shortly. Maybe you can hold back for about 30 minutes or so before you start answering, right? So we will have some staff who will be able to answer questions online, and then maybe towards the end, if there are more time, we will try to answer some of the remaining questions, okay, using audio. All right. So first, let me just welcome our department head, all right, Professor Go Yong, direct to say a few words of welcome to all of you. Yeah.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Kim Yong. I'm the head of Department of Information Systems and Analytics. All right. First of all, very warm welcome to all of you here, and of course, again, congratulations for being accepted into NUS and finally stepping into the School of Computing. All right. So just last week, we actually sent off your seniors in the commencement ceremony, and fast forward to this week, we have another new cohort of you joining us in the School of Computing. All right. So all of you are, of course, here in the Business Analytics or in the Business AI Systems degree programs. All right. So all of these are 4-year degree programs. So in terms of these degree programs, I would just like to say that 4 years will pass really fast. All right. Today is, of course, an academic day. Most of the discussions here, pointers given to you will be about academic issues. All right. So my simple kind of message or advice, if you want to take it as it, is that life in the university will be very different. All right, from your polytechnic days, from your junior college days. It will take a little bit of time for you to get accustomed to life as a university student. All right, and importantly, also life in university and NUS, all right, is not just purely about academics. Right, there's so much more to life as a student. There's so much more to life to attending lectures, classes, tutorials. Right? It's important that during or at this stage of your life, at this stage of your academic career in the university, you take this time to find out what you're really passionate in, right? What eventually would be your passion in terms of crafting your career orientations. All right, that is why we have scheduled, I think, some of the later part of this presentation, this session, to talk about internships. All right, so internships is one of the best way for you to discover what you really like in terms of your job roles. All right, but nevertheless, I will also caution that life in the university is not solely about chasing internships. All right, so we don't want you to go chase, do 9 or 10 or 15 internships. All right, if you do that, you will not have time to attend the lectures. Okay, so end of the day is also important that you have a well-balanced life in the university. All right, so some of you, of course, will be staying in the halls, in the colleges. All right, so NUS has the reputation of having the best campus life. All right, I can certainly assure you that that will be the case. All right, so enjoy your life as a university student, be in the school, in the hall, or in whatever CCA you're participating. All right, so that's my first message for you. Second message is about AI. All right, as all of you know, AI is both a threat and an opportunity. Right, threat in the sense that if you fall to the temptation of using AI in an irresponsible manner, you will learn nothing in the university. All right, and on the other hand, of course, AI is also an opportunity for you to tap into the powers of AI to complement your learning, right, to boost your productivity. All right, and as our responsibility as educators to teach you in the university, we have been always been trying to keep up our curriculum to all the developments, the newest developments in the industry. All right, so we have always been changing some of the courses, revamping some of the courses. All right, so rest assured that we will prepare you very well at the end of the 4 years, okay, to make sure that you get good jobs. All right, and your role as a student is, of course, to make, as I mentioned, to make the best use of time in the university, right, to discover what you really like, eventually to get a good job, and at the same time, find out what you're really passionate in. Okay? Some of you will be involved in startups. Some of you will join a lot of hackathons. So be it. Go pursue all your dreams in these 4 years, and please also be focused in terms of what you would like to achieve at the end of this 4 years. All right. And lastly, I wish you all the best and have a great time in this 4 years. All right. So I'll pass the time back to Levin to continue the rest of the briefing. Thank you very much.
Right. Okay, thanks, Prof. Goh, for the welcome speech. Right. So let's proceed on with the briefing. So let's see where your seniors are headed, right? Because Prof will talk about jobs and so on. That's probably your priority, right? Okay, so I think first of all, I think it's important for me to share with you, right? For you to know your identity. Okay, because as you know, the majority of the students in the school computing, they are CS students, right? Okay, so I think what is a difference between CS, BAIS and BZA, right? I think you should be very clear about what is your niche, compared to other computing students, right? So bear in mind that BAIS and BZA students, right, graduates, you play a very important role in helping organization to do digital transformation. So computer science and AI, they focus on the technical aspect of computing, right? So they look at algorithms, right? They look at how to make software more efficient, okay, more reliable. Okay, whereas BAIS and BZA, you are more of the business applied computing, expert. Okay, so you should be very well versed in understanding, right, the business requirement, okay, understanding the business problem, helping the stakeholder, right, to understand what they need, what you can provide them with the technical aspect in terms of coming up with AI solution or using tools, models, and so on to help them to analyze the data, to help them to improve their business. Okay, so that is really your niche, okay, and your competitive advantage, right? So I hope this is something you bear in mind in your next 4 years of study. Okay. All right, so I think Prof. Goh talked a lot about jobs. So I think it's good that we are still seeing so many of you, applying, or deciding to stay with BIS and BZA. Right, so I think in total we are expecting about 450 students in total, right, for your cohort across these two programs. So I think just to emphasize some points that Prof. Goh would have said just now, right? So I think the 2 degree programs is really more about helping you or teaching you how to apply AI and ML to solve business problems. Okay, so if you're a BAIS student, you'll be taught how to design, architect, and develop AI-enabled solutions. And for BZA students, you'll be taught how to apply advanced machine learning models to help organization analyze data to generate business insights. Okay, and in addition to some of these more technical skills, right? I think the 2 degrees will also, through the various assignments, projects, courses, help to impart very important soft skills, right? So you know that, people talk about AI replacing job, okay? And increasingly people realize that, it's actually the soft skills that AI cannot replace. Okay, so I think we are also emphasizing this a lot in our courses and curriculum to impart you with system thinking skills, creativity, empathy, ethical view towards AI deployment, and most importantly, communication. Okay, and then of course, we will also revamp our courses to incorporate a lot of AI tools. Okay, that can help you to do your job. Okay, whether it's for software engineering or is it for data analysis. Right, so if you see the diagram over here, right, if you remember from our open house this year, so this is actually the analogy we had for the open house, right? So BAIS student, you are more like architect, okay? And then BAA students, you are more like the detective, okay? For those who attended our open house talk this year, right? So this should be quite fresh. All right, so let me just share with some jobs that, your seniors have go on to take on, right? So I think currently we have 2 batches of BAIS students. So the incoming batch will be the 3rd cohort of BAIS. Of course, this will be your information systems degree seniors. Okay, so you see that they have gone on to take on primarily jobs in software engineering, right? AI developer, and of course, product management, okay, and so on. All right, so for BZA, all right, so many of our BZA students, they actually go on to take on software engineering jobs as well, and of course, data scientists, quantitative researcher in financial institution, and increasingly, we are seeing a lot of students moving on to what we call forward deployed engineering. Okay, so I'm not sure whether this is something new to you, but I will talk a little bit more about this shortly. Right? So, what are actually forward deployed, engineer? All right, so this is how the computing job landscape has been changing. As what we see, this is actually currently in high demand. So basically, the idea about this forward deployed engineer is that, organization, they need people to work with the business unit, all right, to understand the business problem, to be able to translate them into strategic goals that can be transformed using AI and to develop AI solutions for the organization. Okay, and of course, for data side, you will be likewise working with stakeholder to turn data into decisions by helping them to understand the data, to be able to ask the right question, to help them to take people, okay, to generate more insights for action. So this is what we are seeing the trend of forward deployed engineering. Okay, then of course, with the emergence of all these agentic AI, right, there is also a need for what we call agentic AI orchestrator. So these people would be required to build, design, manage AI agents. Okay, but of course, to do that, you have to understand business processes, how to convert business processes, okay, into something that the AI agent can work on. Okay, so I think the department is always adding new courses. So the next year, we are starting a new course on agentic AI. All right, but of course, you will only be able to take it probably 3rd year. Okay, 3rd year or 4th year. Okay, so you realize that a lot of all these emerging competing jobs, they actually require not just technical expertise, but they need a lot of human judgment to understand the business context. So we have used a lot of AI tools right now, right? We know that, what is the weakest point of AI? It's really understanding the context. So that's where the human remain very important. Okay, and then of course, human will be needed to validate the output from AI. Okay, and then to use your human judgment to design innovative, and of course, it needs to be ethical. Okay, solutions that are able to combine human and AI. Okay. Right, so these are some key milestones for you to remember, right? So you are just starting year 1, right? So so you probably want to start thinking, what do I want to do, at the end of my year 1, right? So most students will go on to take on the Orbiter project, okay, to build out their portfolio. So this is usually quite important if you want to apply for internship, in your year 2, year 3, or even to apply for student exchange or NOC programs. Okay, and then students start going for hackathons and so on, in your year 1 and year 2 as well. So it's also something good to get some experience through hackathons and competitions and real world projects. So most students will plan to go on student exchange program or NOC program in year 3 and do their capstone project in their year 3 and then do their internship. Okay, but this is probably referring to the big internship towards year 3 sem 2 or year 4 sem 1, right? So some students may do a a summer internship in their year 2 as well. Okay, so all these are different possibilities. Later on, we'll talk a little bit more about internship. Right. So some advices for you at this point in time, right? So later on we'll talk about specialization, program elective, and so on. So I think right, you need to start thinking about your interests, okay, and start planning for the courses. So later on the students will share some tips with you on the course planning as well. Right. So think about what you'd like to be, what kind of jobs you'd like to take on. Then go for those kind of specializations or take on courses to deepen your knowledge and skill set. Okay, so keep yourself informed of AI, all the AI development. Okay, all the new tools. Okay, and then think about do some reflection. What is my role as a human, right? With all these emerging tools. Okay, what kind of jobs are needed next year, for example. Okay, so all these things you have to keep yourself abreast of all the AI development. Okay, and then start building your LinkedIn profile. Okay, so I think many of you may not have a LinkedIn profile, but I think it's good to start building a LinkedIn profile if you do not have one. And then please scan the QR code or search for visa and connect to the department LinkedIn to keep yourself updated with what the department is doing. Okay, so build your LinkedIn profile and keep updating once you have taken some courses or you've done well, you won some awards and so on. Right. So keep updating your LinkedIn profile because employer do, use your LinkedIn profile for various purposes. All right. For shortlisting, for interview and so on. Okay. So there are also a lot of resources that you should add on. Right. So we have a lot of resources from the Center for Future Graduates, CFG. Right. So there are a lot of tools that can help you to do mock interview. Right. You can also book consultation with the career advisor. Right. So for mock interview or for career counseling and so on. Okay. So there could also be technical test preparation by the school or by CFG. So make good use of all these resources provided by the school and university, and there will be a lot of industry talks for you. So try to make time to attend all these industry talks and network with people. Okay. All right. So let me just briefly go through structure of a degree program. Right. So I think Prof. Min has actually explained to you, right, the degree program, but let's just go down to the structure for the BAIS and exactly. Okay, so generally a single degree is 116 units, right? If you're taking double degree, right, it can go up to 180 or 200. Okay, so polytechnic intake students, right, you can be granted up to 20 units of unrestricted elective. Okay, all right, so this is the general structure of BAIS and BZA. All right, so we have 40 units of common curriculum requirement, 80 units of program requirements, of which 60 units are core courses. Okay, and then 20 units are elective, and then we have 40 units of unrestricted elective for you. So this is the common structure for BAIS and BZA. Okay, so the common curriculum requirements is common to all SOP students. Okay, you have to take one GE course from each of the 6 pillars. But by taking CS 1010A and BP 1101, that would fulfill 2 pillars of the common curriculum for you. And all SOC students need to take IS 1108. Okay, so usually we recommend that you try to complete all your GE courses in the first 2 years of your study. Okay, and leave your year 3 year course to your program elective, your capstone internship. Right. So there's more information about pillar communities and engagement. All right. So all students, you have to take a course from this pillar. So check out some of this information available online. So this communities and engagement courses can be semester long or year long. Okay. So usually if you're looking at a semester long course, right, there may be limited capacity for you. So another option is for you to look at taking on this communities and engagement project over 2 semesters. Okay, so if you plan to go for that option, try to plan early on which are the 2 semesters that you want to do the GEN option, okay, over 2 semesters. Okay, especially if you plan to go for SPP or NOC. All right, so another thing about this common curriculum is that there are requirements for you to do 3 courses, all right, of interdisciplinary and cross-disciplinary courses, right? And there is also a requirement that at least 2 of these must come from ID, interdisciplinary course, and no more than 1 can be CD, right? That means you must take at least 2 ID and 1 CD, or if you prefer, you can take all 3 ID courses. So for BAIS and BZA, students, the department advice is that because if you look at our core curriculum, right, the core courses is actually very big. Okay, so we are not able to put in more, management and business related courses year 1 or year 2, right? So that's why we actually advise you use your ID, unit space to do these 3 courses that are run by the department. Okay, so this should provide you with some foundation understanding of business and organization. Okay, so these are just advisory guidelines, right? So if you think that you know a lot about econs, don't have to do the IS223. Okay, you can do the other 2, or if you prefer to do ID courses from other faculty, that's also fine, right? You can just take 1 from all of these 3. Okay, so I think we would usually recommend BAIS and BZA students take your ID courses from any of these 3 courses run by the department. Right, so let's move on to core courses, right? So core courses are courses that you must do. You have no choice. Okay, in order to graduate, you must, of course, complete all your common curriculum, complete the core courses. Okay, so you don't have a choice on the core courses you to take. Right, so these are the required courses you have to take. Okay, so if you look at the curriculum, there will be some core courses that are not coded as CS, IS, or BT. Okay, so the CS, IS, and BT courses are run by the School of Computing. Right, so for you, there will be courses by the Faculty of Science, right, the Maths and the Stats courses. Right, so these courses will be by another faculty. So the suggestion is that try to clear them as soon as possible, usually within your first 2 years. Okay, right? Okay, because usually the school would not have much liberty, in terms of the quota and so on. So sometimes you may not be able to do a certain maths course in the certain semester you want. Then you would probably have to delay it to the next semester because of quota constraint. Okay, so try not to leave some of the courses towards the end. And usually it's not possible for you to leave it towards the end because a lot of the higher level courses requires the 1,000 and 2,000 maths and statistics course. Right, usually you will need to finish them within your first 3 sems. Okay, and then later on when we look at the study plan, there will be some courses that we will be pre-allocated to you, right, in your first year. Okay, I'll come to that. Huh? So if the course is pre-allocated to you, that means you do not have to select and register for the course. That means you're guaranteed, okay, a place in the course. Okay, so the suggestion is that try not to drop all these pre-allocated courses. Huh? All right, and then there will be 12 units of industry experience requirement, or you can do a dissertation. So later on, Prof. Hanan will talk more about industry experience and dissertation. Okay. All right, and then we move on to the elective courses, right? So these are also part of your program requirement. So you have to do 5 program elective. Okay, so if you decide to do a specialization, all right, you can fulfill your program elective requirements through doing the courses of the specialization. So bear in mind that taking a specialization is optional, right? It's not required, but we typically suggest or advise students to actually pick a specialization. So it helps you in your career positioning to the prospective employer. At least, you can sell yourself that, I'm good in financial analytics, I'm good in fintech, okay, I'm good in AI governance. Right, so pick one and then take all at least the 5 courses in that specialization, and preferably take 1 or 2 more courses, okay, to show that you're really good in this specialization. Okay. So usually you can declare the specialization at the start of every semester, and once you have fulfilled all the courses requirements of that specialization, this specialization will be reflected on your transcript. Okay, so specialization is something that is formally reflected on the transcript. Okay, so some students they are quite adventurous. They want to do 2 specialization. All right, so it's possible if you want to do 2 specialization. Okay, and then the policy allow you to actually double count up to 8 units, okay, among the specialization. Okay, right. So these are some things you need to start considering, right? So probably from your year 2, okay, because you won't be able to take the courses required by the specialization in your early years, okay, because they need a lot of prerequisite 1,000 and 2,000 courses. Right, so the unrestricted elective, there are 40 units. All right, so this will be the curriculum space that you usually use to take your minor. Right, so to get a minor in another faculty, you have to take 5 courses, right, equivalent to 20 units. Right, if you take on a second major, that will take up all your 40 units from your unrestricted elective. Okay, so if you do not have minor or second major, then you are really free to decide what to take under this 40 unit. So the recommendation is actually trying to take more IT or VT or IS elective course list to show that you're really good in BIS or BIA. Okay, right. So all these elective course lists are specially designed and created for you by the departments. I think these are some things you have seen from the faculty briefing, right? Okay, so I will just include this in this set of slides for your reference. So I won't go too much into it now, right? So these are self-explanatory. Okay, so just keep this in mind. Okay, right. So just to emphasize about academic integrity, so I think NUS and SOC we take cheating, plagiarism, and misuse of AI tools, okay, very seriously, and copyright as well. Okay, so familiarize yourself with all the AI guidelines by NUS that are provided within Codeuse. Okay, so do not get into trouble, all right, with academic offense and so on. Okay, so just keep in mind. So now and then I will send you some important emails. So my emails will not be a lot. Okay, so every semester I probably will only send you, not more than 3 to 5 emails. Right, so I think those are things that I think are very important. So please do not ignore my email. Right, so I think a lot of courses, assignment, and projects requires a lot of deep work. Right, so try to find your study mate. Okay, the capstone is a team-based course. Okay, try to have some study mate to provide you with some support. Okay, right from the start. Okay, look out for your GPA. Okay, I think this has been reminded. Okay, to you multiple times in the faculty briefing. All right, let's talk about some of the more operational things. So try to keep in mind some of these points as you progress with your study. So later I will show you some suggested study plan for the 2 degree. Okay, you do have some flexibility to deviate. All right, so for example, switching something from SEM 1 to SEM 2. Okay, maybe due to some various reasons you may have. Okay, but try to keep to the study plan as much as possible. Try to plan ahead and update your study plan at the start of each semester. So it's fine to even have a 3-year, 4-year study plan, but you will definitely need to look at your study plan at the start of every semester and make some adjustment. Okay, so all these higher level courses, they will have some lower level prerequisite, meaning that you will not be able to take a certain course unless you have taken a more foundational course. So make sure that you plan to take the lower level prerequisite course, okay, if you intend to take a higher level course at the later part of your candidature. Okay, right. So capstone project is something that everyone has to do as well as internship. Okay, so only do things when you feel that you are confident, right? Usually in your year 3 or year 4. All right, this is something very important. If you go to the SOC website, okay, there will be a part on current student. Okay, there will be a link on top that says current student. So this is probably the link that you will visit very, very often, okay, in the future. So always remember that if you want to check your curriculum requirement, always refer to the cohort 26-27 page. Okay? Because a few years later when you go to the web page, most students they may just look at the curriculum page for the current cohort, which may be 27, 28, 28, 29. Okay, then you will be referring to the wrong requirement because sometimes, to keep the curriculum relevant, we may change some requirement for the newer cohort. All right, but that will not apply to you. Okay, always remember that your graduation requirements, all right, all the things will be set by your cohort. Okay, so if you go to the current student link, if you scroll down, there is a link that shows the current academic year course schedule. Okay, so this will show you all the SOC course timetable for the current academic year. Okay, so something to take note is that what usually students do is that they will plan the next year courses to take based on the previous year offerings. Okay, so this usually remains unchanged. So for example, course A has always been offered in semester 1 and course B always in semester 2. So most of the time, this will remain the same for the following A1. But due to sometimes when we need to face some manpower constraints and some other consideration, we may move the semester that a course is being offered. Okay, so bear in mind that some courses will only be offered only once, right? So if you have a core course that is only offered in one semester, so make sure you plan to do that in the academic year semester. So if you miss it, for example, a certain course is only offered in semester 1. If you miss it, you have to wait for the next A1. Okay, that will slow down your progress. So the core courses, if it's offered in one semester, make sure that you do it in that year and the semester that's been offered. All right, so some of the more popular elective courses may be offered every semester. Okay, and then of course some of the more popular elective courses, they may have course quota. Okay, right? So these are some things that may change. So that's always important. You have some contingency plan. Okay, so for example, you want to go for certain specialization and you have decided that you want to do these 5 courses, right? This course is offered in SEM 1. I want to take this in SEM 1. I want to take that in SEM 2, right? But there could be some changes in the following AY. This course that you plan to do in SEM 1 is now moved to SEM 2. Then it's good that you have some backup plan, right? So if this course is not available in SEM 1, right, do I have another course from the specialization list that I can take in SEM 1? Okay, if I want to go for internship or SEP in the following SEM. Okay, so I think you need to build in some contingency plan because sometimes the course schedule may change from year to year. Okay, especially if you're also taking second major and minor. Okay, because that will face a lot of constraint on you. So bear in mind that because there are so many things that you can do, in NUS, right? Your CCA, minor, second major, right? If you try to do too many things, that will place a lot of constraint on your cost planning. Okay, so I think these are some things sometimes you just have to balance and do some trade-offs. Right, let me just go down to the 2 degree. So first, let me just talk about the BAIS degree in detail. Okay, so this is the structure, right? So in your first 2 years, right, you lay the foundation in maths, analytics, stats, business, and computing, right? Then when you go into year 2, year 3, and year 4, right, you deepen your competency in full stack software engineering, AI and machine learning, professionalism, and communication. Okay, and then you go on to do your capstone internship or your dissertation, or to go deeper into one of the 3 specializations. Okay, so this is the study plan I was talking about just now. Right, so what this means is that in your year 1, SEM 1, all of you should be pre-allocated IS 1108 and CS 1010. Right, so those courses that is in blue, these are the core courses, right? And then those that are underlined, these are the pre-allocated courses, meaning that you do not have to choose on the system. You know, when course registration starts, you do not have to do anything. These courses underlined will be pre-allocated, right? So all visa student, you have to do 3 maths course, right? MA 1521, MA 1522, and ST 2334. Okay, so usually the undergraduate studies office will help you to allocate either, 1521 or 1522. Right, so some of you may get 1521, some of you may get 1522 in SEM 1 or SEM 2. Depends on the quota provided to us. Okay, so if you're allocated 1521, okay, and you think you want to do 1522 with your friend, just think about this carefully. If you drop 1521 and you try to apply 1522 yourself, there is no guarantee you can get 1522. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so if you are already allocated a course, then probably the recommendation is just stick with it. Okay, unless you're sure you know what you're doing and you're willing to take up some risk of not getting any course. Okay, so try not to drop any pre-allocated courses. So usually most of you will do these 3 courses, okay, in your SEM 1, year 1. Then if you need other courses, you can do 1 GE, you can do 1 ID or 1 CD course. Right, or if you prefer, you can do another maths course, you can get it. All right, or what I'm saying about deviation is that if you think that you think that your communication skill is fairly good, you want to take IS 2101, which is the communication course in your year 1 SEM 1, that is also possible. Okay, provided there's quota. So you can actually shift the courses probably by 1 semester, but not too much. Okay, so this is what I'm referring to, but then you start doing your capstone and your internship in your year 3, okay, or year 4. All right, and then year 3, year 4, most of the time you'll be taking your program elective or your unrestricted elective, okay, for your minor, second major, or your specialization. So this is the structure of your 4-year study for A-level intake. So for poly intake, you can be given up to 20 units of unrestricted elective. Right. So most poly students, they can graduate in 3.5 years. Okay. So so poly student, you will need to take a maths bridging course, right? MA 1301. Okay, that counts as an unrestricted elective. Okay. So other things will be quite similar to the A-level intake students. All right, so the 20-unit program elective, right? You need to take 5 prescribed courses from the list, right? And at least 3 of these must be at the 4,000 levels. Okay, right? So these are all the courses we have for you under the program elective. Okay, so you won't be able to take this probably until your year 3. Okay, right? So that's the IS 4403. Yeah, so that's the new agentic AI solutions and development course we have in the coming AY. So in fact, like 4400 to 01 and 02, right? So these are new AI courses we launched last year. Okay, and 4403 is actually new. Okay, in the coming AY. Okay. All right. Just a note on this 2 elective courses, IS 2102 and IS 3102. Okay. So because of the curriculum redesign, right? These 2 courses used to be core courses in the whole information system degree program. Okay, but because we need to add in more maths course and AI and ML course to the core. All right, we are not able to continue to include this as a core for BAIS, but we still think these two courses are very important for BAIS students. Right, so right, depends on your situation. All right, it is possible, right? We recommend that you still take IS 2102 by your pardon, in your year 2 SEM 1, and then continue to take IS 3108 in your year 2 SEM 2. Okay, and this will count as program elective. Okay, so just take a look at the courses you want to take. If there are some higher level courses that you want to take that requires IS 2102, then you must take IS 2102, right? And then IS 3108 will be a course if you want to go deeper into the client-side AI solution. Okay, so this will be useful for you if you want to go deeper into AI solution. And this course will be useful for your textbook program as well. Okay, but of course, if you have other things like second major, minor, right, or you are doing some specialization that consumes UE space, for example, you're doing full specialization, then if you do not have any UE space to take any of these two courses, then it may be fine, right? But you may need to do some self-learning. Okay, but it will be recommended for you to still consider doing these two courses. Right, so under the BAIS degree, we have 3 specialization: AI governance and management. Right, so this will be good if you want to take on a path that is more related to compliance of AI systems, right? Data security, privacy principles, and so on. Right, so we see that this area is also something that is emerging in terms of jobs. Right, so people talk about AI going haywire, doing the wrong things, making the wrong decision. Okay, so I think AI governance is something that is increasingly getting some prominence in the industry. Okay, so I think this specialization is quite important. Right, so of course, if you prefer, you can go on to, if you want to pursue a career in product management, you can do this digital product and platform management specialization. Right, so what this means is that in order to qualify for this specialization, you have to take 5 courses from any of these lists. Okay, or if you take more than 5 courses, the extra one will go towards your unrestricted elective. Right, it won't be wasted, it will be counted as part of your unrestricted elective. Okay, so that's why if you want to show that you are an expert in this area, it's always good to take more than 5 courses from this perspectives. Right, and then we have the financial technology specialization. Right, so for business analytics degree, right, so the structure is very similar with the BAIS. We have the foundation, right? We have the the middle layer, developing your competency in analytical modeling, data visualization, and system development. Okay, and then the specialization, capstone, internship, and dissertation. All right, so the study plan. Okay, so it's very similar to the BAIS. Okay. Right. So it's just that BAIS student, you will be pre-allocated CT 1101 of year 1 SEM 2. Okay. Whereas the business analytics student, you will start taking the intro to business analytics in your year 1 SEM 1. So that is the slight difference that I have here. Okay. Other than that, it will be quite similar structure with the BAIS. All right, and this is for the poly intake student. Okay, so likewise, we have the 5 courses you have to take under the PE. All right, so the requirement is slightly different for BA. Okay, you have to take besides 3 courses that must be at least 4,000. At least 3 courses must be PE coded. Okay, so I mean we are in the same department, so the 2 degrees in the same department. So most of the courses under the BA degree will be PE coded, but there will be some IS coded courses that will be open to the BA student. So likewise for the BAIS student, most of your courses will be IS coded, but there will also be some PE coded BBT coded courses that you can take. Okay, so the additional requirement here for the PE is that, right, for the BA students, at least 3 courses must be PT programs courses for you, okay, for your program elective requirements. Right, so all these are the BZA program elective courses that you can choose from. Right, so we have also 3 specialization for the BZA. Right, we have this specialization that train you to go much deeper, right, into machine learning analytics. Okay, so if you want to have a stronger foundation in machine learning, okay, for data analytics purposes, you can pick this specialization. Okay, then we have the one for financial analytics, right? So for people interested in financial institution, and we have one on marketing analytics. Okay. Okay, Sen. So I've briefly introduced you to the degree structure, and then the study plan, how to go about, thinking about what you want to do, in your next 4 years, okay, about your study. So I'll hand the time over to Prof. Anand to tell you more about the industry experience, doing some research as an undergraduate, some entrepreneurship experience that you can get, and some of the work and service on Washington. Okay. Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our school. So I want to talk about 4 different things right now. First, about what your industrial experience requirements are and what they're going to look like. Then about undergraduate research opportunities that you'll have as part of being on school, entrepreneurship opportunities that you'll have, as well as other types of work that you might want to engage in. So let's get started talking about industrial experience. So doing 12 units of industrial experience is compulsory for your graduate. And we offer 4 different ways that you can get these 12 units. You can either do a 12-unit 6-month internship. You can do 2 shorter 6-unit internships. You can do 1 short 6-unit internship with 6 units of courses, or you could complete a dissertation. Okay, so these are 4 different options. So let me walk through 4 of them. So for the first one, you can actually do a full-time 6-month-long internship that is worth 12 units. And we offer 2 different pathways for this. One is called CP3880. It's called APAP program. The other is IS 4010, Visual Transformation Program. Now, you can also take NOC to fulfill the requirements for this 12 units. But that's offered outside of cost. And so doing any of the APAP, PTLP, or NOC will help you meet this 12-unit requirement for your industrial period. So in our school, we offer APAP and PTLP. So sometimes students want to know what the difference between the two. So I thought I'd share this with you early so you can start planning how you want to go through your industrial experience. So APAP and PTLP they got some similarities. They're both 12 units and they're both 6 months long. But there's some differences between them. Particularly PTLP is an internship program where you're going to be working on transformational projects. And transformational project means you're going to be working on strategic level projects where a company is adopting new technologies through a transformation and how they do things. And so that will include a technical deployment as well as some idea of how the technology affecting the strategy of the organization and kind of leadership necessary to deploy the technology. Okay, so this is going to be hands-on, but you will also have some mentorship from the people you're working with, as well as some mentorship from a professor. And it will also include things like additional seminars or reflective learning. Now we compare this to GitHub. APAP real straightforward, hands-on technical experience. Most professors we do this as software engineers. But the journey is your internship point. You'll be attached to a company and you want additional seminars, and mentorship. But there are some critical differences between the two. ETLP can be done either individually or together with someone else. Between the two people, your friends can choose to apply for the solution, and if you get hired by a company, internship is to work on projects together. APAP, on the other hand, there's no team employment. You are working or you're getting employment individually, and then you can work reverse employing company versus treated. Now, the APAP program is available for all associate students. So every student from our different degree programs can do an APAP, but the ETLP is only available for EAIS and ZA or collectively work services. Now, the big difference between the ETLPs is that going through transformation project, seminars, lesson learning, the mentorship, gives you access to having your internship be better graded. It means your 12 units will be better graded and count towards learning. If you do an APAP, your grading is either, it is only a pass fail or CSC. And so this is a requirement for the graduation. But it won't change the events. So these are the major differences between the two courses you have if you go through a 12 to the graduation. Now, both APAP and BTLP are offered twice a year, same time, coming to November and January. While you do APAP and BTLP, you can do additional courses, but this is really subject to the approval of your employer and subject to the approval of the course structure. However, while you can take 2 4-unit courses, you cannot take an 8-unit capstone course while you are on a credit bearing. So please keep that in mind and plan out your schedule. Right, so that's the first option. The majority of us students will go through this option, but we have other options available. Right? So one of the other options is to do 2 shorter internships. In these internships, again, will be full time and needs to be 3 months left. And so you will do 2 of these, usually over summer. So in order for this to happen, you have to satisfy CP 3300. It's called our Students Internship Project, or SIP, and CP 323, which is SIP. Also, SIP 1 and SIP 2 are only offered the special term or in the summer. So from May to July. And so if you want to do 2 internships, 2 3-month internships, we'll do one summer and then let's do the second one next summer. And this will fulfill your 12 units of industrial engineering. Now the third option is that you do 1 SIT. So 1 student internship program course, which is CP 3200, and we'll do that in summer. And then we'll fulfill the other remaining 6 units by doing some courses. And again, this is very similar to the previous option, but instead of 2 internships, 1 3-month internship, and then you're taking courses for the rest of your fulfill the rest of the requirement. Now, these courses must come from predefined lists. This is the list of courses you can take. You'll see that some of them are 2 units and some of them are 4 units. So combined together, you have at least 6 units. Yes, you can do 1 2-NC course or 2-unit course and 1 4-unit course. The BAIS students have a selection of 6 courses that you see listed here. For the BZA students, IS 4301 is not one of the options. So you have just a 5 course. So out of these 5 courses to BZA or 6 courses for BAIS, you need to cover 6 units. You need to industrial experience requirement. But when you do these courses, plan very carefully that these courses cannot be double counted towards the program election, their specialization requirements. So these offer you a lot of flexibility. You can choose to do a long internship, you have difficulty finding a long internship, or you want other options, or you can do 2 short internships, or you can do 1 short internship and complement that with 2 of the courses you care, adding up to at least 6 years. Regardless of which internship experience you choose, please remember that doing a credit-bearing internship can only be done after you've completed further curriculum. So make sure you find out what courses completed and how many credits you completed, how many units you have before you can do ATAP or TCLP or FIP. Thanks. Just a quick note, touching back to that Professor Goh talked about earlier. You can take more than 1 credit-bearing internship. In fact, many of us will do a few different internships, but you have to only count one of those towards your industrial experience, so 12 units. Any additional units that make the credit-bearing internships will go into unrestricted levels. So you can't count them with your industrial experience requirements. Once those 12 units have been fulfilled, anything additional is going to your unrestricted electives. Often students try to self-source an internship, and that's possible, but it does require approval and access credit bearing. It goes through things like the job description to make sure that it matches up with what the rule is. And so one assigns the internship that is self-sourced needs to be specific a little bit, and should be somewhat relevant to the people that they're pursuing. A final reminder, when you plan your schedule for the next 8 semesters, remember that you are not allowed to complete a credit-bearing internship at your final graduating semester. And doing so requires special approval, and it's only refused. So please plan your internships in the semester prior to your graduating semester. Right, so we also have another opportunities for students if you want to get industrial experience in the form of working on scientific projects. That's what we do as a university, and so you can choose complete participation. This is available to students who maintain a GPA of greater than 4, or once you've completed 7% of your goal units required, 112 units. Then you can choose to say that you will do participations instead of internships for the industrial experience. So what happened in participation is that you're going to work independently on a scientific research project or an applied research project with a faculty member. And so students can do this by fulfilling 2 participation courses. For the BZE students, it's 4101, which is the Bachelor of Science education. And for our BAIS students, it's CP4101, which is the participation course. So both these courses, 12 units, they meet your industrial experience requirements, but they span over 2 semesters. And so you will take them and you'll cover them 2 semesters. But the project selection, project that you choose to work on, professor that you choose to work on will be done 1 semester before that. Okay. So you'll bid for those projects, or you'll choose those projects, talk to the professors, interview with them, and then once you select you, then next semester you'll start working period of 2 semesters. Now, if you want to get IS distinction honors degree, you must complete participation, right? Which means you're going to be needing to choose one of either BP4101 or CP4101 instead of an industrial experience. Okay. However, you can do both. You can do an internship and you can do a FYP, final project, but you can't do them separately. We've also introduced a new course called CP3100, Information Systems and Analytics Research Methodology, which commonly recommend that if you want to do the participation final with project FYP, that you should take this course. The plan course is how to put it into your criteria. Now, the final year project dissertation is just one example of a research opportunity that we offer our students. So there are other opportunities if you don't want to do the final year project, can't take it for some reason, you can try between a 1 year long project over 2 semesters for CP 4106. This is only 8 units. And this is available for any student who has completed at least 112 units, but you are not issuing participation points in a final project. And then for more junior students, you can get a taste of what undergraduate research is like working with a professor on a project by taking CP 3106, which would work 4 units in about 1 semester long on a project. Okay, so here on the side, you can see some examples of the current projects, recent projects that we have ongoing. So you can see that there's a strong research element here and a lot of relevance to analytics and artificial intelligence. Some of these projects are a little bit more technical than others, some are more applied than others. And so there's a lot of different options available if you want to pursue a research opportunity. School. Okay, third, let's talk about innovation and entrepreneurship opportunities. So our school has an innovation and entrepreneurship team, and we offer and encourage students to engage in innovation and entrepreneurial activities. One of those is the Seed Innovators program. So Seed Innovators is a new program that we've created to encourage students to spend more time working on their entrepreneurial and innovation vision. And so this is where you're going to start building products to solve real problems and hopefully be able to commercialize it. You would have received some emails in the past inviting you to apply for this program. Some of you have applied, some of you may have missed that, but applications are still open until Thursday of July, and we'll post a link in the chat for the application site in case you still want to apply for that. Now, what happens in the Seed Innovators programs is that we are going to set aside some credit, some units, so that you can spend time building your entrepreneurial startup or your innovation. So there'll be 4 units that will be set aside so that you don't have to pay one portion of your CD ID requirements. And those 4 units will instead be used for CP 1001 and CP 1002, which are 2 units. And so students in the Seed Innovator program can take courses. There'll also be 4 units that we will do in year 4. Likely this will be CP 4100 or CP 4101. Therefore, we get that course code. And then in between, there'll be 12 units. And 12 units can be used for your IER or from the user as review. And in these 12 units, you're going to spend time building up your product prototypes and startups. So for instance, instead of doing 2 SIPs or something an 8 or PLCs, you can choose to say, well, I want to do like internship requirements via a startup. I'm going to create my own startup and spend time doing that. So this program gives you 20 units worth of time for you to build your own innovation. Now, to complement this program is also going to give you several different enrichment opportunities. Right? This is going to be things like entrepreneurship workshops, networking with founders. There'll be some global and local immersive programs that you'll be able to join. And of course, there'll be innovation challenges, helpful videos, and abilities to get some funding opportunities. To guide us through this program, our students will all be attached to mentors. These mentors will be coaching and they'll help you refine what you're doing, your startup. And all of this will be done with real entrepreneurial domain experts. And we'll try to keep it flexible. We'll try to find experts to match the needs that you have. So, and finally, of course, this program is useful because you're not going to do all this alone. You're going to be working in a community of 30 to 40 students who are in the first batch and we'll have a series of resources to kind of form an ecosystem to support. So if you are still interested, please take a look at the link in the chat, and then you can register or sign up. We'll get in touch with you. Now, besides the Food Innovators Program, our INE, or Innovation and Entrepreneurship team, also offers other entrepreneurship courses that you can take that are not part of the Innovators Program. For instance, CP2201 and IS3251, which of course talk about innovation and technology entrepreneurship. Finally, if you are inclined and you do want to create your own startup on your own outside of the Innovators Program, the school also will provide some support. We have some sources of funding, incubation, mentorship, and other types of opportunity. And so you can try to get mentorship and even some grant funding from our Innovation and Entrepreneurship team. It's called VIP. You can do a project that can actually win you a $2,000 prize. That's called the Completing Innovation Prize. And you can even represent NUS at the Asia Business Plan competition in Hong Kong and Taiwan. For Finally, if you're inclined to, you can actually work for the school. We hire undergraduate teaching assistants at $40 an hour. Of course, there's a maximum amount of time that you can work, and that's 16 hours per week per term. So if you're interested in doing this, score some good grades, and then in the next semester, you can opt to apply for the 2-year undergraduate 2-year for those courses. And you can look out for the email invitation from the UT office. Usually sometime around June, November, for the semester will begin. You can also try to sign up as a student researcher for $20 an hour. And this will help you get more experience doing research projects with a professor. And if you're interested in pursuing a PhD or being a research scientist, then this is a great year to get some exposure there. And there are also many other jobs that you can apply for under the NSWS portal. So use part-time opportunities on campus. Finally, we also need ambassadors. So if you're interested in joining us as an ambassador and sharing your experience with your junior college, your polytechnic juniors, please do let us know. There'll be a call for ambassadors, and feel free to join us. Of course, you'll get the your helping us. Great. So I'm going to now hand over to our students who are going to share with you some of their experiences so that you can hear from the seniors. But before we do that, just please remember to stay in touch with us. Once you form your LinkedIn page, please do connect with us and follow us. You can also take a look at our website. Okay, so next, let me hand over to Joanne and Margaret, and then later Chloe, who will share a little bit more about their experience. Okay, thank you, Joanne. Margaret.
So thank you, professors. Hello, everyone. I'm Joanne, and with me I have Margaret, and we're from Business Analytics, BDA. What Margaret and I will be sharing today will be of interest to both BAIS and BDA students. So even if you're BAIS, you can tune in as well, yeah? We have both just finished our first year modules, and we are currently going into our second year of Business Analytics. Now that some of our basic introductions are out of the way, let's get down to sharing some of the stuff that you guys might be more interested in, like answering questions such as, I have no experience in code, where are the use? What are your thoughts on the BISA degrees? How can I be so sure that this is the course for me? Or what opportunities or experiences can I gain? What is good enough? Is the course tough? Or is uni rough? Yeah. Because we may not be able to answer everything in our presentation, but you're free to save our socials at the end of this. If you talk so that you can have a quick chat with us too, whatever social media there is. Yeah. Firstly, to answer those who might be wondering, do I have to pre-study, any programming languages like R or Java or Python? Not necessarily. Of course, whether or not you pre-study for courses, it's up to you on how you want to approach it, how you want to study. So if you prefer to do so, then that's great. But even if you don't, the courses are manageable so long as you dedicate enough time and effort to understanding and learning the concepts. some of you might have been researching, and as mentioned earlier by professors, you noticed the module CS7A Programming Methodology 1 that both VAIS and VZA students have to take. With reviews saying it's challenging without a coding background, which, to be very honest with you, it can be true at times. But for some context, both me and Joanne had very little coding experience prior to our time in NUS. The learning curve was tough, yes. We're not going to lie to you about that. But as long as you study and understand the concepts well enough, you'll be fine. We've been fine so far. Yeah. So the learning curve, it's pretty steep, but it is manageable. Learning Python, which is the language you will go through in 1010A, does get manageable and even enjoyable over time. And with every assignment you complete, you will feel such a huge sense of accomplishment thanks to the fun and almost gamified learning environment of Cosmology. So all that is to say, while grades aren't the be-all and all of your student life, you can still do well academically without pre-studying before the semester, as long as you do your due diligence in learning during the active semester. Margaret's right on that. Like, yes, for me personally as well, I fully agree with whatever she just said. We just completed our 2030, which is another one of the more tough CS mods that you will hear about eventually. Just active semester diligence, like you just study during the semester. There's no need to really like go deep into the pre-studying before the semester. And it is one of the toughest mods out there, but we managed to survive it, so you guys can too. Personally, at the time that I was doing the course, of course, I was like going through like a roller coaster of emotions. I was like, can I pass this? Am I going to get held back because of this? I did fine. I did well in the end, in fact. So like, you will survive. Everyone has their own work style, and if yours is to just like study a few hours, then go out for dinner with a friend or something afterwards, that works as well. Like, everyone has their own different styles of studying, and it's up to you how you want your university life to look like. Like, for example, even though Margaret here and we are in the same degree, studying almost exactly the same thing, we have completely different schedules, and we sometimes don't see each other for weeks. So like, yeah, you can plan your schedule the way that you like it. Speaking of entirely up to you, if you are still worried about course planning, let me introduce to you NUS Mod. This is a fantastic website that you should definitely keep in mind, especially when course registration is coming up soon, not long. I open this website like every once in a while just to check what I want to take in the upcoming semester. NUS Mod is a very convenient place where you can check the time slot for classes that you want to take next semester, as well as like descriptions of the module itself, and also, most importantly, the reviews. Yeah. In NUS mods, you can do all those. And you can also do other stuff, like, for example, check MP values that you can study in after your classes are over. Yeah. So for freshies just matriculating like you guys in the future, yes, usually they will sign up for like 2-3 courses, as they mentioned earlier on. So you just have to bid for like 2 to 3 more courses. And very luckily, NUS has a priority system that is not first come, first serve. So you don't have to worry about waking up late and missing registration. Additional guidance for the course planning, like they showed earlier on, can come in the form of following the sample study plans that you can find just by saving this document that they will send out later. And the school has already kindly formatted a nice plan for you to follow. Although you can, of course, deviate from this, like I have, and I think Meg has as well. Although we only deviated a bit, but it's up to you how you want to organize your school life, as long as you manage to complete all your graduation requirements. There are several different ways to plan your university life. Yeah, so some students, like myself, make and use Excel sheet planners, and others even use NUS mods itself to help you track your credits that are required to graduate. Which is they're both really great ways to plan the modules you'd like to take the next semester. And many students also take the chance to optimize their schedules to come to school on lesser days while also efficiently clearing their grad requirements. It's really up to you on how you want to build your schedule and your learning experience here. Yeah, even if you don't plan the whole 4 years out at once, so long as you diligently record and fulfill requirements like your core modules and colors, rest assured you will be able to graduate. Yeah, not to worry. So doing all of this alone can be quite daunting, which is why we highly recommend going for events that NUS and SOC plan for the students. We have, yes, we haven't mentioned camps before school starts to get a head start on uni life, computing club related events such as hackathons like Life Hack or
even camaraderie where you can make friends, play games, and win some really cool prizes. And also school-wide special welcoming events with free food, of course. So these events, all of these are there to help meet with like-minded individuals who may be helpful during group projects, have take classes with, and even end up being friends with beyond school.
And rest assured, these two actually work because Meg and I met our friend circle in camaraderie. So yeah, would definitely recommend that one personally. Aside from school events, you can also join clubs. And you guys have hundreds of clubs from like student interest groups like Grey Hats and Information Security Interest Groups, FOC, to faculty clubs like the NUS Students Computing Club that we mentioned earlier on. Well, actually, Meg and I, we are also members of the committee. All School of Computing students are automatically members of the faculty club. It's a, faculty club. Well, personally, with Meg and I, we are under the external relations wing and we do planning of like, for example, merchandise that students can wear. So you all should definitely give that a check once you all enroll in the school. Yeah, our decision to join the committee has led us to like many interesting experiences to say in the least, such as like planning and releasing physical merch such as like cool sport shirts. Joining the club has also allowed us to like make lots of friends with other committee members who share interests, like one of our friends who also enjoys making art like us, outside of just computing stuff. And some of them were seniors who were also more than willing to share their advice for like different courses and like module planning with us, which has also helped us out a lot for like especially some modules that were a bit tougher. We sought advice from them on how to like maybe optimize our code, etc. Anyway, all in all, these interest groups or like clubs are like an excellent way to meet new people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the topic of events organized by the computing club, there are hackathons that you can build. These are some of the events that the other wings of the club plan, and they're also one of the many opportunities that you should definitely take advantage of while you are a student here at NUS. They're a great way to gain some experience with code outside of class settings. And we have one hosted by the club with this Life Hack that's taking place early next semester. Hackathons can be a great way to learn about without the pressure of grades attached to it. So I definitely recommend you to take a look or have a go at it. And then while we're on the topic of opportunities as future freshmen, y'all might want to keep an eye out for Orbital. It is a 4-credit bearing project module over the summer where you can decide with a teammate on what you would like to do and what would you like to work on over the summer. Sign-ups take place sometime in April to May before summer break, and the projects that students have worked on range from, it's a wide range, from building games to database and app designs. Even if you're not the most familiar with coding, that's all right. No reason to worry because there's multiple levels of difficulty to choose from, and you can make your project as simple or as detailed as you'd like with to match the difficulty levels. So Orbital is one great productive way to spend your summer, but as you heard earlier, there are also camps that are by Computing Club that you can sign up for next year as well as a OGL and not to help the next batch of freshies.
Yes, but there are still camps that you can sign up for as a freshie this year, so make sure to keep an eye out for those as well. Anyways, in the meantime, Reg and Flag, these are also really fun and meaningful events that you can pour your time into during the summer. In fact, Margaret and I, we are both in Reg right now, so yes, please look forward to the performance in the future. Yes, and we just finished some of our paintings yesterday actually. Although it's not computing or coding related, it is still a great way to like meet many new people, like the different experiences that the school has to offer, as well as like do fun things that you may not get the opportunity to do in the future, especially once you start working. Work will not
cherish your time.
as many opportunities.
Cherish your
Indeed. Yep. Last but not least, for opportunities, as they mentioned earlier, if you do well in a computing course, such as the earlier mentioned CS 1010A, you can apply to become a teaching assistant the following semester or like the following academic year. From the student's perspective, the role of teaching assistant is one where you can, reinforce concepts that you have learned yourself and then share it with like the freshmen or like other schoolmates. And many people find like this experience very fulfilling. And some of my friends who have done it, they say that they get to gain working experience as well as get paid at the same time, which is like 10 out of 10. Unintended pun there. 10 out of 10, a 10-10 bonus, yes. Anyway, and they also get to help other students at the same time, which is also meaningful and fulfilling. They say it's fun And it's also hey, and it's fulfilling. So I also tried applying this semester. Hopefully I get it. Yeah. Yeah. Make use of the benefits that you get as a student here at SOC.
Yeah. So we hope our talk here has helped you get a better perspective on the opportunities here at NUS. And what we said does apply to both Visa A and BAIS. So we really hope you'll take it into consideration when thinking about your university life. There's always fun events around the corner, and in between those, there's always Pit Stop, where you can play the Switch or board games with your friends, and Cool Spot, everyone's go-to for a quick break to grab their coffee or tipping between studies. Here are our socials and the QR code to grab these slides if you'd like. So thank you for listening to our sharing today. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any more questions. Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Chloe. I'm a year three business AI system student, and today I'll just be sharing about like my experience so far at NUS. So some background about me is that I was from a JC and I studied BCME. So I actually wasn't really from a computing background. So many of you might be like me, so don't worry if you don't have any prior experience as well. So I just finished my year two and I'm going to my third year. I'm planning to specialize in digital product management, product and platform management, and minor in interactive media design. And right now I'm doing a summer internship, which I will talk more about later. So many of you might be unsure of what to expect in your first year of university. So workload-wise, from my experience, I think year one, sem one was pretty chill. I think actually one of the most like chill semesters that I had like throughout my 2 years. So I think you guys don't have to worry too much. I took CS 1010J in Java, but now it's actually in Python. And then I also took MA 1521, which is computing for calculus, and then IS 1108. So I think like when you guys go into uni, like what's important is to kind of like set like some goals. Maybe like what do you want to make your uni life about? Like is it making friends or like studying hard, I think getting a good GPA is something everyone like will want to do. And then also any CCAs that you want to try out. So just make sure to like allocate time accordingly and don't overcommit because I think that's something that I kind of like did in my year one. Try to find a balance of like the things that you want to do. And then I think another thing is that that really helped me throughout my 2 years was studying with friends. So I met a lot of my friends through you can see here on the right hand side through like camps like FOW or like even through classes. So we try to study together and help one another because it can be like really helpful to like keep each other on track. And then the third thing I want to talk about is that I think grades matter only to a certain extent. Because don't worry if like your grades aren't the best. Because ultimately as you start to take on internships, those are what matter more. And all your projects are what showcase to your employer how much experience you have. And then lastly, I think that throughout your 2 years or throughout your 4 years, try to figure out what interests you as you gradually take like more and more courses. Maybe you're like DT 1101, you realize that you like data analytics or other more like business oriented communication mods like IS 2101 and software engineering through like Orbital. So I think another question of you guys might have is that how to plan your courses. So as Prof mentioned earlier, there's this straightforward curriculum table that you can follow, and it details all the courses that you need to take to graduate. So I refer to this pretty often. And what I did was to start planning what courses I wanted to take over the 4 years. And I used this Google Sheet template from a senior to keep track of all the courses that I wanted to take. And over the 4 years, make sure to plan the courses that you want to take and fulfill your graduation requirements so that you graduate on time. So for specializations, as mentioned by Prof earlier, there are 3 specializations you can choose from. And I think if you want to choose which specialization you want to do, you can just look at the list of courses that you want to take and just pick the one that interests you the most. And then there's also second majors and minors. So I think these are ways for you to use your unrestricted electives more meaningfully. And coming from JC, I have 40 unrestricted electives. So my minor would take up some of them. And you guys would need to do your own calculations on how many UEs your respective minor or second major takes. So for me, I was really interested in pursuing user experience design. So I'm minoring in interactive media design, and here you can see the courses that I need to take to fulfill my minor. So some important things that you need to know is that you can apply or declare your minor or second major no later than the 5th semester. So don't worry if you don't really know what minor or second major you want to take yet. You have until your 5th semester to do so. And then after you receive the approval, so some minors are actually restricted, so you have to apply for them beforehand. And after you receive the approval for these restricted minors, you can declare it on Academic Plan Declaration Day, which just started yesterday. And just a note that Academic Plan Declaration Day is only for open minors. So for course registration, yesterday, as I mentioned, was the start of Academic Plan Declaration, and course registration is starting next week. So don't forget to start planning and bidding for your courses. So I think some key things to note is that first, you need to make sure you complete your Academic Plan Declaration at least 24 hours before round 1 next Monday. Because actually this happened to some of my friends. You won't be able to bid in round 1 if you haven't declared your academic plan. And then for each of the rounds, so round 1 it's for major specific courses, then round 2 is our unrestricted electives and UEs, then round 3 is our remaining slots. So on August 11th, it's where we can select our tutorials and labs, and that's where you can coordinate your timetables with your friends and try to be in the same classes together. So you can find this calendar in your Outlook inbox. So for my study plan, here are some of the highlights and how I planned it based on my interests and specialization. So gradually, as you clear your foundational courses, you can start to take on higher level courses like your specialization ones. So right now, I'm at the end of my year 2 checkpoint, and where I'm doing a summer internship, and I'm actually clearing 6 units as part of that. And in the coming semester, I'll be going on exchange to Canada. So to share more about my exchange, I planned it based on my year 3 Sem 1. It's going to be in Vancouver, Canada, and at the University of British Columbia. So I'm actually flying off pretty soon next month. And I guess it's still early for you guys, but you can start to consider where you want to go on exchange, which countries you're interested in, or even like what schools you want to go to. And one thing to note for student exchange at NUS Computing is primarily based on your year 1 GPA if you go in year 3 Sem, if you apply in year 3 Sem 1. So make sure to study hard for your year 1 and keep your GPA high so that you have a higher chance of going to the places that you want to. And don't worry if you don't get to go on a student exchange, because there are many other opportunities for you to go overseas. So now for some of the projects that I took over my 2 years, first is orbital, so CP2106, I think mentioned by Prof and Margaret and Joanne earlier. So for me, I built a language learning platform because my pair project and I were quite interested in learning languages. So I think my advice for Orbital is to build something that you're passionate about and so that you have motivation to complete the project. And another project that I did was part of a mod, so IS2102, and it's a core module for us BAIS majors. So I think it was really useful. I learned software engineering in Python, and we did this e-commerce platform and learned about like HTML, CSS, and some web frameworks like Django and Flask. So now on to more non-academic events. I think throughout my 2 years, I participated in different hackathons and programs. So for me, my advice is to put yourself out there and participate in many different events, to try everything and anything, because I think that's where you learn the most. Then on to CCAs. So CCAs in uni isn't compulsory, but I think most people I know still join and participate in them. So for me, I tried to do both academic and non-academic related CCAs. And I think you guys can try to do the same, because you can use CCAs as opportunities to make friends, de-stress, and learn something new. So for computing related CCAs, in year 1, I joined Women in Tech at NUS Computing as a publicity associate, and I helped to promote different events that our club held. And then in year 2, I joined developers group at NUS Computing as a UI UX associate. So I designed some admin dashboards for staff at a non-profit organization. It's raining raincoat, so you can see some of the wireframes that I made here using Figma. And then outside of faculty-related CCAs, I think it's important for everyone to find a way to relieve stress. So for me, I found that through pickleball actually. So in year 1 and year 2, I actually stayed at Helix House at Prince George's Park, and I was mainly into crocheting and also started my own pickleball interest group. And then in year 2, I participated in some tournaments with NUS Pickleball and helped to create publicity material for them. So now on to internships. To share some of my own internship experience, I'm currently interning at ENGIE Southeast Asia. So it's a French MNC that works with renewable energy and on-site utilities. Currently, I'm working on a project that involves some machine learning and agentic AI to detect faulty sensors in the Pongo Digital District. And then for you guys, I think some of you might be wondering when and how to get internships. So I'd like to mention that first, you shouldn't feel pressured to do an internship during year 1 summer, because I think in general it's pretty difficult to get one if you don't have any prior experience. So instead of like doing internships, maybe you can also, if you can't find one, you can try to start your own projects. Like Orbital mentioned earlier, attend different hackathons or like start your own passion projects. And I think that you guys can consider joining computing CCAs and clubs, because this can be a good way for you to build your portfolio. So I listed some here. And I think it's important to just pick one or two to focus on, because don't overcommit yourself. So that'll be the end of my sharing, and just feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Yeah, and connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Right. So thanks to the 3 students for sharing their experience. So I believe we have answered all the questions you have posted. Right. So if you still have further questions, feel free to contact me or contact the advisor team. Okay. So right. So thanks for those who make the time to attend live online with us. Okay. Right. Okay. Thanks for everyone. Thanks. Okay, thanks. Bye bye. See you around the school.